Hey guys, it's Josh, and today I'm going to be taking you through one of the theories that I have kind of proposed here based on evidence that I have found. And what we're going to be talking about today then is why skinwalkers actually control America. The basis of my theory here is that we see this phenomenon of lizard people that is talked about constantly. We talked about this in class a couple of times, and we've talked about all the theories surrounding it, and some of the reasons that this theory doesn't make sense. Okay, but stay with me for a little bit here. Let's take a look at these examples really quick before we start to dive into this. So we see some scaling skin here, here, here. Everywhere. We see some dead eyes. We see this piercing stare. We see almost this ear. It's turning black. It almost looks bat-like in a way. It doesn't seem very human. His lips here are turning this really thin, dark red, a natural color. It's got this dark coloration around here and here. We almost see like the lips, like the gums here, turning a dark black as well. And just once again, look at how glazed over these eyes look. These don't look like human eyes. And then over here, of course, on this picture of Beyonce, we see, once again, the scaling skin all the way up and down the face. We have the notorious lizard stare of Mark Zuckerberg. Many videos of Mark Zuckerberg show him with these unnatural behaviors, the way in which he moves his face, his body, how he stares at people, cameras, his social interactions. They seem very unnatural. They seem like he's trying really hard to emulate a human or emulate human behavior or natural behavior, almost like he's not himself, but he's trying to act like himself. But one of the biggest telltale signs is that his eye color has been shown to change from like a bluish to a greenish color, which a lot of people have reported this eye color change and the intensity of his stare paired with his weird actions are what make him a lizard person. We also see in Joe Biden and Newt Gingrich here a phenomenon of miscoloration of patches of skin and a scaling texture within those patches of miscoloration. And the coloration, of course, turns out to be more of this dark brownish green hue. We see it right here, and we see on either side of Gingrich's face where I circled it. This is shown in a lot of pictures of lizard people being revealed on camera. This is one of the more common occurrences, is almost just this fluctuation and texture quality in the skin of the individuals that will be there one day, but it'll be gone the next day when they're on camera. If you watch a press conference of Joe Biden, you're probably not going to see this exact same area, this exact same coloration again. This was just, in theory, a hiccup where he let go of his transformation a little bit, and we saw this right here. Let's look at an article from Ohio State University, though. In this article, it was kind of surmised that, there are lots of holes in this lizard people theory. I agree with that fully. I think there are a ton of holes in this lizard person theory, and I don't think that many of the ways in which it has been described are very accurate, but I do think there are some focal points that would need to be examined more. One of the main defenses of this article says that VHS tapes are the reason for most of these discolorations and most of these occurrences that we see, and that compressed artifacts or essentially what can just be chalked up to like glitches in the video from the VHS being old is how we see most of these instances of lizard people. Well, look at every example I have here. These are all pretty modern examples. I don't think there's many VHS videos of Beyonce concerts, and I do not think that Mark Zuckerberg himself would be a component or a character or whatever in VHS videos, as well as he came to power in the technological era by, inventing Facebook. That's what he's known for, inventing Facebook. So, once again, he's not going to be on VHS, but these behaviors are still observable, even on live video footage. Pre-recorded video footage in 1080p, you can still see these happening. I don't think these compression errors are going to happen that frequently, and unless there's evident proof that that's actually what's occurring, which none was supplied, I don't think that's really going to be a key point in disproving any of this. But there are some good points that were still made in this article about how the biblical ties of this by David Icke, the inventor of the theory, and what might some call the whistleblower of all of this. he is a proprietor of mostly the Christian religion tying into it, in that most of these instances of lizard people could actually be tied to depictions of the devil, or that they are extraterrestrial in nature as well. I don't think that either one of those theories are necessarily true. I don't think that this does have a biblical connection. I don't think that these are invaders from another planet. I think we can all agree that sounds a little preposterous, right? I believe if there is some proof to support this, that we need to look within our own nation, and we need to look within some answers that can be more hypothetical than little green men from space that have been never proven to exist, coming down and taking over our government. So that's when I got to looking at skinwalkers. So skinwalkers are a Navajo legend. They're essentially like werewolves a little bit, but I would say to sum them up to being werewolves is a little unfair. This isn't some American Halloween, ploy. This is actual Navajo tradition, culture. This is the culture of the people that used to inhabit our nation that we took over. We usurped their territory. We literally slaughtered their people. Maybe we should give some respect and some insight into Native American tradition and culture. I don't think that's too crazy. So skinwalkers, of course, let's get back into that. They are shaman who would, at nighttime, sneak out and then use their powers to transform into these creatures. This is different in key distinction from like werewolves and what you might think about that, because this surmises that they have the power to transform at any time. The reason that it was usually described that they would go out at night to do this is because when they were going out, they were committing terrible acts while transformed. And it was actually said as well that the power of their transformation was pretty much limitless. Anything that they wished to transform into, they could. They could make it as human looking or as animal looking as they wanted. They could transform into any animal, any size, and essentially there were no powers or no limits to their powers, and they could transform freely. We have another picture here of a supposed picture, one of the best pictures supposedly taken of a skinwalker, like during the middle of the night, which is supposedly why the picture is so grainy. It was taken at night with no light source, and this is what was got. I think this is like in the headlights or something. We can kind of make out some facial features here. Kind of got the cap of the head here. We got an ear here, brow ridge. We have cheekbones going down here into a jawline, mouth right here. You can kind of see the shaping of a nose. And then we have a socket for an eye here and here. And of course we have the rest of the body proportions here. There's almost like these deer or wolf seeming like legs. I think they might be more deer or horse legs. They almost seem to end in a hoof down here. And then you can kind of see the workings of almost what looks like a human body transforming into an animal form. The hips seem to be right here, elongating the legs back here, jointing at the knee to go down and form here into another knee. So this was clearly someone transforming. And this is right here to the right, an artist's rendition of what this might actually look like during the transformation, and what this might look like if it were higher quality in the image. So let's talk about some skinwalker sightings in the wild. There's actually a History Channel show coming out soon that is based entirely around skinwalkers at a place called Skinwalker Ranch, believe it or not. And on that ranch, there were apparently several sightings of skinwalkers. One of the sightings that's described in this posting here says that the skinwalker was a large wolf, about 3 times the size as a normal wolf, and that one of the most important features of it was that they said it had large, piercing yellow eyes that were glowing. They also said that it transformed into a bird after they attempted to shoot it, and that all that was left of it when they were gone were these giant, they looked like bird prints, but they looked like they were also some kind of animal print. So like mid-transformation that the skinwalker took off. But they also said that on this ranch there are lots of conspiracies about UFO sightings, and that this also happened on the land of the Ute, who were actually a tribe of peoples who the Navajo tribes took over and enslaved mostly, according to this posting. So if we look at that as true and say, this gives the Navajo a reason, or the spirits of the Navajo, to come back to this area. This is where they have, of course, enslaved the Ute. Any lasting hostilities, there could be reasons why these sightings happen in this area. I'm not really too concerned about that currently. I'm more concerned about descriptive factors here and seeing what similarities we see between the skinwalkers, between what people think are lizard people. And of course, with lizard people, we had a large focus on the eyes and the changing of eye color. The piercing intensity of eyes is also something cited pretty often as being a telltale giveaway of a lizard person, in that the ability to have these glowing, piercing eyes is usually one of the giveaways. And here we see that skinwalkers, according to this description, also have these large eyes, glowing eyes. And we can assume if they can transform any other part of their body, that they can transform their eye color as well, especially with animals that only have certain eye colors. That just has to be, in order to make it. If we're going alongside what we know about skinwalkers, there's no specifications that say, oh yeah, and they can't change their eye color. They can literally transform into animals, but they can't change their eye color. So I think this is a very real possibility here that we can draw some connections between the two theories. Also, while I don't really think there is too much of a UFO connection here, and that if anything, there might be other explanations other than actual, aliens and extraterrestrials coming down, there is still the connections between UFO phenomenon between both the lizard people and skinwalkers here now. Going into a little bit more about the Navajo legend of Skinwalker, though, they were described to be more violent. It was said they would go out at night, transform, and they commit acts of murder, incest, and defile corpses. They would go out at night, of course, and perform these taboos, but mainly that they were aggressive, that they did have urges, and that they were, of course, angry spirits. It was also said that more men than women tended to be skinwalkers, that they were these shamans, and that purportedly a lot more of them were men. Why does this matter? We'll get to that in about 2 seconds. But the discussion of murder also led way to me thinking about one of the largest holes in the lizard people theory. One of the largest holes in the entire theory of the lizard people is that we have images, pictures, videos of the people who are claimed to be lizard people as children. We have reports of people who knew them as children. We have reports of lots of stuff. In a day and age where we're especially getting so technologically advanced, and with younger people like Mark Zuckerberg being, these supposed lizard people, it's harder to kind of ascertain the possibility of them actually being lizard people from birth. Wouldn't someone have found out by now? Wouldn't there be, sightings of these lizard people as children? Well, now we have here evidence that historically that the skinwalkers were known to be murderous. So is it a wild theory then to assume that if you are trying to fill the role of a high-powered elected official or celebrity, are you going to go through all of the effort to transform into a human from birth and live until your middle life to become a celebrity and hope that one day maybe that works out for you? Or is it maybe more feasible to imagine that if you're a shapeshifter, it would just be easier to kill somebody and take their place? I think that sounds a little bit easier than living your whole life and trying to hope that you'll become a celebrity or politician. No, I think you should, if you were in this role, it would be more feasible to just get rid of that person and replace them. But let's move into what I was talking about a second ago with a majority of skinwalkers are apparently male shamans. Well, when you look at pictures of lizard people, the majority of what you see are the faces of men. You see male celebrities, role models, political figures, what have you, at much higher proportions than you do females. This picture of Beyonce, in fact, is one of the only pictures of a female I could find that were actually cases of supposed skinwalker sightings. Most of them were men. Now, this is also in line with what we were seeing about the proportions of gender within skinwalkers. So is this a connection, or is this just a coincidence? I mean, that's up for you to decide. We don't have any backing for any of this right now, and this is a theory. This is a theory in work. So I think that we have enough boxes that we're checking here of connections between the two. But we should move on to what I think is the biggest connection yet. We don't see sightings of skinwalkers or hear about skinwalkers anywhere but America. Makes sense. It's a Native American legend. We also don't see the appearance or conspiracy about lizard people really anywhere else but America. This theory is centered in the United States of America. I haven't seen in any of my searching images of non Americans or non American political or celebrity figures supposed to be skinwalkers. These are all people in America. There are also supposed sightings of skinwalkers in Mexico and Central America, other native inhabited areas that were taken over by European nations. European nations came in here and they stole land from Native Americans from both mainland America, from Mexico, from Central America, and from Canada. That's what happened. That's the history. We know this. Natives were mistreated for generations by white people. White people would come in, conquer land, you know, literally genocide natives by the tens of thousands. I know some of this imagery is pretty graphic here, but it's what happened. And to deny, even just separated from this theory, to deny that this did not occur, to say that natives weren't slaughtered by the thousands by white people is a lie, because that's what happened. We know it's what happened. Some history textbooks try to put a happier spin on it. In our neighborhoods, as kids, it was, oh, the nice Native Americans who gave us our land. No, like we murdered these people to steal their land. Is it possible that this is motivation to take over our country, to control our country, to get back at us from stealing their nation first when we were coming in with technology more advanced than they had seen and using it to our advantage to kill them at higher rates than they could retaliate? Now, when you're fighting and you need to fight back against people who have unjustly mistreated you, let's use an example from history again. Let's use the guerrilla warfare from Vietnam. The reason that the Vietnamese were able to overpower the entire U.S. military, it was because they changed their war tactics. They weren't meeting us head on the battlefield, like most of Europe and America, kind of like the white centered area of the world. Our battles have been head to head. We're just going to shoot each other in a field. But what if there's insurgency now? What if we have the ability to take over a nation by crumbling it from the inside? What if we can take the form of political leaders and take our land back by destroying the country entirely from the inside out, making bad policy changes, slowly destroying the nation piece by piece until it crumbles so far and society is in such a state of dismay that we've essentially got back. We've gotten our revenge. Americans start dying by the thousands, the millions, and of course, now this is kind of the right retribution for all of the atrocities committed by Europeans and Americans to the Native American people and the destruction of their entire nation, of all their cultures, all of their tribes. And what if the skinwalkers are the individuals and the vengeful spirits, which we know they were already to be in the Navajo legend, that are now weaponizing themselves to fight back for the injustices not done onto their tribe only, but all of the other tribes that they knew and interacted with as well? Here's some references that we used here in the making of this PowerPoint presentation. And now that I can drop my character, I hope you all enjoyed this. It was really fun to make, and I cannot wait to watch all of your conspiracy theories as well. This one was a little bit more crackpot in nature, so I tried to take as much as a scientific approach as possible, and tying in some Native American legend in there. But at the end of the day, it's a conspiracy theory. I'm not sure I could make a rational conspiracy theory as I tried, because that's pretty impossible. But this is a theory that encapsulates, at least the lizard people, the minds of many, and seeing this whole Skinwalker craze taking over in a History Channel show seems like a great time to talk about it. So yeah, once again, can't wait to watch your guys' videos, and I hope you enjoyed.